So this is the, well, intermediate product. It's not finished yet, but as you can see, I used the Dremel to remove all the internal parts. So it doesn't look nice from inside, but all that plastic is gone. So basically this is flat out now. You can see, right? And here, this is the top, right? I realized after, testing it, that the problem is those caps here, see? Those are the profile a little bit too thick, and I couldn't close the cartridge with those in place. So I needed to basically open up some space in the cartridge so that it would work. So it will be like this in the end. It doesn't look too bad, but it's not that perfect, mainly because I also am not that good with the Dremel. So you see that I made the openings here for both the SD card and the USB port of the SCSI2SD card. So it fits very well, very snugly in place. I will of course have to use some hot glue or something like that to make sure it stays in place, as there are no screws or anything like that. So you see that it doesn't look too bad at all. Like, it's aligned and it looks kind of okay. And if I add the cover now, so bear in mind that the board is still not secure in place, so it will move a little bit while I am closing it here, which is fine. It's a little bit hard to do that with one hand only. Okay, yeah. So it will look like this. Again, the board moved, so yeah, like that. So it's not perfectly aligned right now because the board moved a little bit, but you see that those are the slots, right? Again, the Dremel went a little bit beyond here on the USB port, as you can see, but it's barely noticeable, and I'm thinking of actually gluing here the sticker with the name, that normally the Jaz card, the Jaz cartridge has. So I could do that to hide those imperfections here. It will be great. It will look just fine. And up here, it looks like this. It doesn't look too bad. You see, like the caps actually give the cartridge a nice touch, in my opinion. So it's not really that bad. And this is the back where we're going to connect the SCSI cable. So next is the finishing here. So I'm going to use hot glue inside to secure the board in place, and I'm probably going to be using the Jaz sticker here, the actual sticker that comes with the cartridge, to hide those imperfections here. I'm going to cut with an X-Acto knife the openings here, and it's going to look just fine, I think. So yeah, that's the plan. I think this turned out to be okay. I think it doesn't look beautiful, but it is going to look nice once mounted in the Jaz enclosure here. It's going to look very original, and it is actually going to look like a Jaz cartridge inserted into a Jaz drive. And I'm going to hot glue that inside the case as well, so it doesn't move. Still not sure how I'm going to do that, but that's another part. So that will be part 3, right? So that's what we have for now. The cartridge part is now over. Well, almost. It's just the finishing up now, but it's mainly over. So just to give you guys some clues here. So I needed to cut also like the bottom part of the cartridge here because of the SCSI portion of the card. It was basically coming all this way here, and the cartridge won't close if you leave it. And of course the caps here as well, so there is the need to cut the entries here so the case of the cartridge will close. Someone with more skills, of course, can make a better job in cutting those openings here and in the front as well. It might look nicer, I don't know. It's just, you know, to me it looks pretty okay, actually, providing I am not an expert with the Dremel. And those cuts are really thin, and it has to be very precise. It's not really that bad. So it could have been much worse, and I don't have an extra cartridge, so this one needed to work from beginning. I will basically hot glue everything here. I don't have any intention of opening this guy here after I close it anymore. I am going to add an LED to the front. So you see that the original Jaz has 2 LEDs here, and the SCSI2SD provides for an LED connection here. You see those 2 points here? It's very easy. You just have to, you know, solder 2 wires here and then connect that to a LED, and that's pretty much it. It will be functioning. So I'm going to do that just for the fun of it, and the project will be then over. One thing that I forgot to mention is the great thing about the SCSI2SD and pretty much the other SCSI2SD or micro SD cards is you don't really need power or extra power to get it to work. It basically gets the power from the SCSI cable. So this power connector that you have here, you don't have to use it. You can just leave it disconnected. There is no need to connect it at all. Especially on Macs, it gets the power from the SCSI connector here. By the way, I actually did that in the past. I connected this here, but I assembled a cable in reverse, and I burned the SCSI2SD because of that. So don't make the same mistake I did. Essentially, don't bother with the power. You don't need it. So just grab the power from the SCSI connection. You should be just fine. I have a number of those working like this, and there is no problem at all. And so in the Jaz enclosure here, if you are planning to do something like this, which might be a good idea because Jaz drives are not so easy to come around, and it's a very cheap way for you to create external SCSI devices. So you can mount, for example, an actual hard drive here if you want. You can mount a SCSI2SD. You can mount a number of SCSI elements using this controller here. It's a very good controller. If you are going to be using the SCSI2SD, there is no need to, of course, this power button here becomes useless. It's not going to do anything. You don't need to connect power here anymore. It's going to draw the needed power from the SCSI interfaces here. And the SCSI ID selector here is not going to do anything either. Like this cable here is basically going to be cut off. I'm actually going to leave it because I might need it in the future, I don't know. So I'm not going to cut it, but you don't need it, and it's not going to be used. In terms of the SCSI2SD, you define the SCSI ID from the software. So you have to connect the USB here and use the SCSI2SD software to define what is it going to be the SCSI ID of the volumes that you have inside of the SD. So no need for any of those elements here. The SCSI termination that the controller has, which is this part here, as you can see, I don't really know what it does if connected to the SCSI2SD. I never tried it. I don't intend to try it because, again, the SCSI2SD provides termination via software. So there is no need for hard SCSI termination like the controller on the Jaz drive provides. I normally just leave that in 0, which means there is no termination in the controller, and I control the termination using the software in the SCSI2SD. It's much more convenient and it just works. So if you guys are considering doing a similar project, those are the tips that I can give you guys. Okay. As you can see, the the cartridge actually creates a very nice enclosure for the SCSI2SD board. So even if you're not going to be doing something like I am doing here, if you intend to mount, for example, the SCSI2SD internally into like any computer that needs SCSI drives, you can actually consider using a Jaz cartridge as an enclosure for it. It is a little bit of work, yes. It might be much easier to use a 3D printer, for example, to print out a case for it, or maybe buy one ready on the internet. But you know, for the retro fun of it and the looks, it might be nice, you know, just to get a hold of an unused Jaz disc. It's not too hard to come across those, and do something like I did. It's going to turn out very nice, and you know, it has that retro look that is really, really nice. Really, you know, I like it at least. That's it, guys. So I'm going to tomorrow finish up this project. I'm going to hot glue everything in place. I'm going to mount the enclosure of the Jaz drive. I'm going to put the cartridge inside and finish up this, and then I will make another video to show you guys this working in my Color Classic. Okay, so that's what we have for now. Thanks.